I just want to ask, how did you guys get into this position of kind of being the go-to Christian voices to talk about sex?
Well, I started mommy blogging in 2008, which, parenting, marriage, housework, that's all I was writing about. And then I found that whenever I wrote about sex, my traffic grew. It was like, wow, people want to talk about this. So I just kind of inhabited that space. And then one day I came to Keith and I said,
hey, how would you like to go and talk about the most intimate details of marriage in front of hundreds and thousands of people? So who wouldn't jump at that? So here we are.
Here you are. That's so awesome. Now, the scripture that we talked about, Adam knew his wife Eve. I know you wanted to speak into that.
Yeah, the Hebrew for that is the same root as when David says, search me and know me, O God. So it is this deep longing to be thoroughly connected. And I think we forget that sometimes. We think that sex is just something with our bodies, but it's not. As you guys already talked about, it's something which is intimate. And that's important to keep in mind. But it is also something which is pleasurable for both. From Song of Solomon, she says as many words as he does. In fact, I think she says a few more. So she is having a good time. And then in 1 Corinthians 7, we know that sex is something totally mutual. And that's the picture that we want people to have. Intimate first, mutual, pleasurable for both. That's the way God designed sex to be.
Awesome. Okay, so what is the difference between having sex and making love?
I think that's a great question. I think that we believe that God made sex to be more than just a physical thing. In the books, we talk about the physical, emotional, and even spiritual aspects of sex. And we believe that God meant that for both men and women to be all three. What I have seen in the church, though, is we seem to separate those things out. And we sort of say the physical part is for the guys and the spiritual and emotional part is for the girls. And if you don't believe me, just think of how many Christian resources you've read which have basically said that men need physical release. That's what sex is for, so men can get physical release. Mm-hmm. What a terribly anemic and pathetic view of sex for guys. Mm-hmm. I believe that men are capable of understanding the emotional and spiritual aspects of sex. And women are capable of enjoying the physical aspects of sex. And that's what we're trying to say in this book. Making love is about more than just a physical act. It's at all three levels.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, I want to, sometimes as men, we out here left alone, and I'm so glad you're with us because we got to stick together sometimes, Keith. And I love the fact, the good guy's guide to great sex. Even as you're talking about that, men a lot of times don't like to admit the fact that, we're not always the greatest lovers in the world. We may need some education. Why should I or any other man that's watching right now pick up this book? What will they get out of your book that they won't get anywhere else that'll help them become the lovers, the supermen that they want to be?
Well, I think there's two big things. The first thing is that this book is not just based on our opinions. This book is based upon a lot of research. Sheila's blog has done 32,000 people.
Yeah, we've surveyed a total of 32,000 people, 20,000 for our original book, The Great Sex Rescue, last year, and then we've done a bunch of other surveys since of men and of women again, so 32,000 in total.
So these things are based upon actual studies of what's actually working in marriages for people. It's not just our opinion. And the second thing I would say is that, we do talk a lot about the nitty-gritty, which we're not going to get to on your show to keep the PG-13 rating that Anna's already talked about. But we do talk about the specifics. As a medical doctor, we go through what's called the sexual response cycle, how it works. Because I think a lot of guys out there really want to rock their wives' world. They really want this to be something that they're better at, but they just don't even know where to start. And they approach it in the wrong way. Because they don't have the right information. And we want to provide that in these books.
Can I give you some numbers? These are kind of fun numbers. Everyone likes numbers, right? Okay. So we looked at couples where the woman frequently climaxes. So she's having a really good time. And we asked the men and the women, hey, does he do enough foreplay? And like 90% of guys say, yeah, I do. 90% of women, yeah, I do. Makes total sense. They think he does foreplay if she climaxes. But what about if she doesn't? When she doesn't climax, 71% of men still say they do enough foreplay. But what's even stranger is so do 52% of women. And so you got to ask yourself, enough for what? like, why are we giving him such good marks? And I think what's happening is that we assume that the way that the guy enjoys sex is the way that she should enjoy sex. And so when it doesn't work for her in the same way, the assumption is she's broken. He's doing everything he can, but she's broken. And so what we're trying to do in both of these books is we're trying to say, hey, ladies, you're not broken. You're really not. You're just made differently. And here's how we can think differently and enjoy it. And we're trying to say to the guys, hey, guys, let's do some more. Let's figure out how to rock her world.
You know, Sheila, it's no surprise that, you know, women and men think differently, but, you know, why so many women think that, you know, they look at sex as a duty, like I have to do this. Why is that not a good thing for women to think that way and to have that mindset?
Well, I mean, first of all, we found that the idea that a woman is obligated to give her husband sex when he wants it, which is a belief that we measured in our surveys, that is one of the most destructive beliefs that women can believe. When she does believe that, her chance of experiencing vaginismus or primary sexual pain increases to almost the same extent as if she had been abused. So I want people to understand this. The obligation sex message, our bodies interpret that as trauma. And it is one of the reasons why evangelical women have twice the rate of vaginismus as the general population. Okay, we're looking at an incidence of 22%, and it's largely because of the way we talk about sex and the way we handle sex early in the marriage. And so we need to do this differently. Telling a woman she's obligated, it also kills her libido, it kills her orgasm rates, it kills her marital satisfaction. It's bad all around. But here's something else, okay? We all, like, whenever we talk about what is the biggest thing couples can do to improve their sex life, people tend to say they just need to have more sex. Just do it more, as if frequency is the problem. But when women frequently reach orgasm, when they feel emotionally close during sex, when there's high marital satisfaction, when there's no porn use, and when there's no sexual dysfunction in the marriage, frequency takes care of itself.
Wow,
So frequency is not the problem. Frequency is the symptom. When frequency is a problem, let's ask what's really going on.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, that's really good. And so interestingly, some of these messages that we have heard, for those who have grown up in the church, we've heard a lot of these messages over and over, like, so Sheila, that have more sex, it even, and Dr. Keith, you can speak into this too, one of the messages is if your husband struggles with lust or has a porn issue, women, like, hello, just have more sex with him. Like, wife, it's your responsibility, and then he won't have that issue anymore.
Absolutely. And this is a very toxic teaching as well. In Sheila's book, The Great Sex Rescue, she talked about many harmful teachings in the church, and that one has tremendous difficulty. It just kills women's libido. It kills women's experience of sex. And even if you don't believe it, just having been taught it causes harm to marriages. And yet we persist in it. And I think it's because we don't understand what lust really is. And we talk a lot about that in the Good Guys Guide. And I think a lot of guys are going to find freedom because we sort of teach lust as like a continuum from, like, I don't even notice a woman is in the room, through this gradual noticing her more and more till I'm lusting with her. And we think it's all this big spectrum. So our response in the Christian church is bounce your eyes, don't look at women, don't ever be separate with women, that sort of thing. As opposed to saying, well, maybe our whole way of looking at women is wrong. Maybe we should be looking at them as, you know, image bearers of God. Maybe we should be looking at them as people. Maybe it's our faulty view of women that is the cause of lust, rather than a woman being attractive in the first place. And we talk a lot in the book about how we ask several questions of guys, do you struggle with lust? And a lot of men did say they struggle with lust. But then we went on in our survey to ask, would you lust in this situation? And we give these little vignettes. And we found a very, very large group of men report struggling with lust on a daily basis, but don't actually do anything that sounds like lust. Because I think men are just conflating being attracted to women with lusting. Because in the church, I think we've taught that they're the same thing. And that's not true. And it's really sad because what happens is guys who are just noticing an attractive woman feel guilty for just being men. But guys who actually are lusting get kind of a free pass because we go, oh, well, that's just boys being boys. And if we could actually tack down on what lust truly is and see it, we would have freedom for the guys who are just normal guys and godly conviction to the guys who are seeing women in a way that's inappropriate. And that's one of the things we try and do in the book too.
Yeah, it's interesting how so often Jesus gets right to the heart of it, right? He said, whoever looks at a woman's lust has already committed adultery. He doesn't blame it on the woman, he blames it on the guy. But even more so, Jesus never refused to look at women. Jesus chose to truly see women.
Yeah.
And our approach to lust has been to try to eradicate women and then to have your wife become your methadone. Yeah. And instead, what if we just viewed women as whole people? And I think that would really help a lot of the struggles that we're having in the church.